What's up, comic book community? Joe here, bringing you another episode of 360 Comics. You may remember a couple weeks ago when I picked up a really awesome Batman collection from the Silver and Bronze Age. You may also remember that that collector told me that he had more and he just had to pull them out of storage. Well, guess what? He did, and he gave me a call, and I ended up buying everything else that he had. And there's a really interesting story as to how the deal went down, so stay tuned for that, as well as the 20 best books that I found in this collection. We are getting closer and closer to 3,000 subscribers, at which point we're going to be giving away this book right here, Hulk number 449, the first appearance of the Thunderbolt. So if you want to enter, make sure you're subscribed to the channel, like this video, leave a comment down below, and check out our other videos like them and leave comments on them for additional entries. Also, you can head on over to Instagram because we're giving away this book right here, Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends number 1. This is the first appearance of Firestar, and once we hit 9,000 subscribers, we're going to pick one to be a winner of this book. Definitely go check out the post about this giveaway on Instagram, and good luck. So because the seller of the Batman books from a few weeks ago told me that he had more stuff, I knew this collection was coming, and I was so excited for it. The first time he sold me Batman number 200 to 300, every single issue, no skipping any beats in there, and he told me that he had some more Batman, newer than that stuff, as well as some Detective Comics, some other DC stuff, and a little bit of Marvel and Star Wars as well. I was really excited about it because I'm always getting asked to bring more DC to the claim sales, so this is really going to help out with that. But basically, I went over, walked into his living room, and he had 5 long boxes there, and it was a range of stuff. Some of it was Silver Age stuff like this, and a bunch of it was just 90s bulk stuff. I ended up making him an offer. We haggled a little bit. We'll talk about price at the end. We came to an agreement on those 5 long boxes. After loading them into the car, he had mentioned a couple things that he had some more boxes that he hadn't gone through yet because he wanted to go through and take out things that were special to him. One thing that he took out of this first batch right here that I'm going to show you was the whole Death in the Family run and the Frank Miller Year 1 run. Those were things that he wanted to keep. I was totally fine with that. I am all for people keeping parts of their collections that are special to them and, downsizing the rest to me. But anyway, he mentioned that there were some more boxes that he wanted to go through first. And I said, I got some time. Why don't we go downstairs? I'll go through them with you. You can pull out what you want and sell me the rest. And as it turns out, he really didn't want anything from there. So I ended up buying all the rest of the stuff, not having to wait and go back a third time, which was really cool. And we negotiated out a deal. We'll talk about the numbers at the end, but let's get into the 20 best books from this collection. Starting off with Detective Comics number 332. This is a classic Joker cover from the Silver Age by the great Carmine Infantino. Love it. I love how the Joker's face is centered, looking super creepy, and then we've got these 2 images of Batman and Joker talking through the bars of a jail cell on either side. Really, really cool stuff. This one, I got to decide if I want to sell this one or if this one stays PC. I do collect Golden Age Joker covers, but I might start grabbing some of the Silver Age ones too, and this is a top tier one from the Silver Age, that is for sure. Then moving up to Detective Comics number 387. This is the 30th anniversary issue, and if you remember the last Batman haul that I did from this same collector had the 30th anniversary from the Batman title. So those came out the same year, of course. This is I believe this is a partial reprint of both Detective Comics 27, Batman's first appearance, which is right there, and Batman number 1, which is right up in the corner there. And this is some really cool stuff. I'm not sure. I thought it was just those 2, but then down at the bottom here is the Penguin, who didn't show up until later, pretty far later. But we got the Joker, who does show up for the first time in Batman number 1. Anyway, maybe I'll have to crack that open and see what's up. Moving up in the Detective, pretty far up, because there's not a ton of big keys between those and this one. This is issue number 524. This is the first full appearance of Killer Croc. This is kind of the Killer Croc key that gets the most hype as far as being like Killer Croc centric. Now we're going to get to another book later that also has some significance with Killer Croc, but that was a character that was kind of a slow burn. He was in multiple cameo and full appearances to develop the character. I think it was a really cool way that they introduced him, but at the same time, it gets a little confusing as far as what is the true first cameo, first appearance, all that stuff. But this is definitely one of the books that people hunt down for Killer Croc. Moving on to the Batman title, we have Batman 313. I mentioned that the first time I bought Batman 200, 300. This had Batman 301 to 399. He kept a bunch of books from the 400s, but then it picked up again, I think around like 460 and went all the way up into the 500 somewhere, which a lot of that stuff is just, 90s bulk stuff, but at the same time, great to have like a complete run there to sell it off to someone at once who's looking to complete the run. Oh, I forgot to mention, this is the first appearance of Tim Fox, son of Lucius Fox, and a character that takes on the role of Batman, and I believe Batman Beyond, or is that Tim Drake that's Batman Beyond in one continuity? I forget. But anyway, very important book, not just for that, but it's also the first kiss between Batman and Selina Kyle, Catwoman. I'm surprised that it's this late, but that is what Key Collector says. I'm surprised that they don't kiss before this, but maybe Key Collector's wrong. I'm not saying that they are gospel or anything like that, but usually they're pretty good on those. Then we got Batman number 357. This book right here is the book I was mentioning before. This is the first cameo appearance of Killer Croc. It's also the first cameo appearance of Jason Todd, and because it is two characters, despite them just both being minor cameos, this book ends up being very, very pricey because of that, because it's two major Batman characters showing up together for the first time, and that is kind of a perfect storm for this key. I love the cover too, the underwater cover here, really, really cool. Obviously neither of those characters that appear in cameo are on the cover, but nonetheless still great. Then you saw this video, or this book in the beginning of the video as well as in the thumbnail. Batman number 387, something like that. 386, I was one off. First appearance of the Black Mask, definitely a character that has stood the test of time in Batman, and you gotta love that he's on the cover, displayed very prominently in a really, really cool cover with this this yellow background with all these masks and faces behind, Batman's cape and cowl and Black Mask. Love it, absolutely love it. Yeah, this is going to sound crazy considering how many comic collections I bought. I don't think I've ever owned this book before. Like, I've never bought it for my PC before. I've never, despite collecting Batman, and I've also just never found it in the collection. I think this might be the first time I own this. I gotta check. Might be keeping this for my personal collection because of that, but gotta check out the condition before I make that decision. Moving on from Batman and Detective to some offshoots of Batman, we've got Batman Vengeance of Bane number 1, the first appearance of Bane. This is a first printing. Always check on this book. If it is a subsequent printing, there'll be Roman numerals right here. I think there were 3, if I remember correctly, printings of this book. So you'll see a Roman numeral 2 or 3 right there, right under where all the price and title and stuff are. But this one is a first printing, doesn't have any Roman numerals there. First appearance Bane, you know what it is, classic book. And then another one you usually find together with this one, because they're from the same time period, Batman Mad Love, Batman Adventures Mad Love. This is a one-shot, a special, and it is the second appearance of Harley Quinn, and a really, really great cover, depicting these 3 characters who were so popular in the early 90s on the animated series. Second appearance of Harley Quinn, and the first story that really, really focuses on her as well. And speaking of Harley, this next one, even better than this, in my opinion. This is Batman Harley Quinn number 1. Now, not only is this a super phenomenal cover, by the Alex Ross, but this is the first in-continuity appearance of Harley Quinn. Prior to this, she has a bunch of appearances in animated universe books, the Batman Adventure books and stuff like that, and Batman and Robin Adventures, probably Gotham... What's the Gotham Adventures? Is that what it's called? I forget. But this is her first appearance in mainstream continuity. And, the fact that it is a black background, Alex Ross cover, and this nice, shiny, square-bound book, you gotta love it. This one might have to go get graded because this is a pricey book in a 9.8, and this one definitely has some potential to get there. Moving on to a couple more Batman-related things. We got World's Finest number 156. Another Silver Age book. Unfortunately, this one is a lower grade, but this features the first appearance of Bizarro Batman. There are all these characters that were bizarrofied, similar to, how characters become venomized in the Marvel Universe. Very similar thing. A bunch of different characters do show up like that. And this is the first time Batman is shown in as the Bizarro form. So really, really cool. It's got a Joker cover as well. You really can't beat major characters like that on the cover. And then these last two Batman related things before we move on to some Star Wars and Marvel were full sets. So this was a full run, all 13 issues of Batman The Long Halloween. And if you remember recently, I have actually picked up this run now 3 times in the last year. 3 different collections that I bought all had Batman The Long Halloween complete runs in there. So that is a really, really cool find. And yeah, I mean, it speaks for itself. It's one of the best Batman limited series ever. And so many things, television shows, movies, video games have been based on this or loosely based on this. And, they even had a Long Halloween animated movie that came out a couple years ago, which isn't as good as this. I will say that, but solid nonetheless. And another full, complete limited series run, we have the Joker from the 1970s here. I think this is 1970, this would have been like 1974, something like that. But yeah, Joker's first ever solo run, which it's crazy. The character had been around since 1940, and it took until the 70s, the mid 70s to get his own run, despite being, the main Batman villain. But yeah, so this is a 9-issue run, and all 9 issues were in there. This was actually something he was thinking about keeping. He was like, I don't know if I want to get rid of the Joker, but I did make an offer at the end that he was like, all right, you know what, you can take everything. And we'll talk about that in just a second. We got a couple more books left here. We got DC Comics Presents number 27. Now, this is the first appearance of Mongol, who is on the cover as well. Pretty underrated book in my opinion. Pretty affordable. I think it gets overshadowed a lot by the issue before, which is the first appearance of the new Teen Titans, Cyborg, Raven, and Starfire. And because of that, kind of overshadows this villain first appearance in the very next issue. That might be the case. Maybe it's not. I don't know. But I just feel like it's undervalued. I feel like it's underrated, underappreciated. Speaking of Teen Titans, we're going to go into some Teen Titans books here. It had a chunk. It had like random books. This was not by any means a full run, but fortunately it did have the new Teen Titans number 2. This is the first appearance of Deathstroke, who's seen kind of like in the shadows on the cover. Really, really big key. This is like the Teen Titans book that you want. Deathstroke has really stood the test of time, been in so many different forms of media, both against, Batman, as well as the Titans, as well as against, Robin, Nightwing. Speaking of Nightwing, oh, look at that. Boom. Teen Titans, Tales of the Teen Titans, number 44. There was a massive gap in this run that this guy had. He had issues like 1, 2, 3, and 4, I think. And then there was a huge gap, and then he had like 38 or 37, I think he started again at, up to like 50. So this was in there, fortunately. He had, I guess, stopped buying for a few years there, and then had redecided to start picking up Teen Titans, and he did it at a good time in order to get this first appearance of Nightwing here. Yeah, great book. Those are like the two keys. You know, there are a bunch of other small keys that are, you know, $5, $10, $15, but this one and the previous book, those are the two Teen Titans keys from the 1980s. We're moving on to some Star Wars. I only really have one Star Wars book. There were a lot of great miniseries and stuff like that. You know, there was the Episode 1 miniseries, which obviously this book came from. There was Rogue Squadron and Crimson Empire and stuff like that. But this is probably the most sought after book in the lot of Dark Horse Star Wars stuff that was in this collection. There was no Heir to the Empire. There was no Clone Wars 1. So this book takes the cake there. It is, a lot of people call this the first appearance of Darth Maul. This is actually the second appearance of Darth Maul. But it is the first cover appearance, and it is just such a cool cover that it actually is worth more than Darth Maul's first appearance, which is the previous issue. This is Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, issue number 3. He first appears in issue number 2 of this run, but this book takes the cake by far, and is significantly more even than the photo cover of Darth Maul that is the variant cover of this issue. So yeah, really, really cool. This is high grade. This one, I might have to send this off because I'm pretty sure a 9.8 fetches a few $100. We'll have to take a look at the numbers and see if it's worth it and examine the book a little more closely. But let's get into the last couple books. These are all Marvel. He did not have much Marvel. In fact, we'll talk about the exact stuff that he had in just a second, but let me show you the highlights. Boom! Secret Wars. You can't go wrong with Secret Wars number 8, The Origin of the Black Costume. Iconic jazz hands cover. And yeah, just this is a book that, you know, every fan of Spider-Man, every fan of the black suit, the symbiote suit, they want this book. This book, if I remember correctly, when I was like first getting into like really collecting comics, and this was a while back, but I remember this was like more valuable than ASM 252. Now that has since changed. ASM 252 has taken the cake, given it's the actual first appearance of the black symbiote suit. But this one is still a pricey book nonetheless. And it was weird. He only had issues, I think it was like 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 of Secret Wars. There was no 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But thank goodness he started buying at issue 8, because I will take this over the other 12 issues or the other 11 issues any day. Then we had some Amazing Spider-Man. We got issue number 361. This is the first appearance of Carnage. Great cover. A book that went way up leading up to the movie, but then way down afterwards. For a couple reasons. One, the movie was coming out during the comic boom, so things were all going up, and extra hype was added due to the movie. And then the movie came out, the comic boom stopped, the correction of the market started, so things started going down, and the movie was not well received because it wasn't good. And this book fell tremendously. It's still a valuable book, very valuable, $100 plus in high grade. And 9.8 still fetch, $500, $600, somewhere in that range, depending on, direct or newsstand. But it is not nearly as much as it once was. In fact, 9.8s were fetching over 1,000 for a while, which is crazy. But anyway, moving on to some more symbiote goodness. We got The Amazing Spider-Man number 316. Now, coincidentally, this was one of the only books from the 80s or 90s that was a newsstand, and this is definitely one that you want to have in a newsstand because it is more valuable in high grade. This was 1988 or 89, so there were less of them, and those high grade newsstands are worth more. This is a high grade newsstand. This thing has got to go off to CGC. This is a potential 9.8. I think minimally this thing gets a 9.6 after a good press, and I am definitely going to be sending it in at some point soon. Fingers crossed for that 9.8, because I'm pretty sure 9.8 newsstands of this book are definitely over 1,000. That's just, without even looking it up, that's the number in my mind that it's got to be over 1,000. Anyway, yeah, very excited about that. That one might end up staying in the personal collection if it does get that 9.8. And then on to the last book. You might have seen this one coming given the last few, but we got Amazing Spider-Man 300. This is the first full appearance of Venom. Full. A lot of people will argue with me there, but hey, it is what it is. This is the book that the market has decided is the most valuable book for Venom keys. It's got the classic Todd McFarlane cover that's been homaged a bazillion times, dozens of times by Todd McFarlane himself. It's a milestone issue, and yeah, it's just absolutely a classic. As far as Marvel books go, I have to think this is the most expensive Copper Age Marvel book. I might be wrong about that. Maybe I'm missing something, but I do think that this would be the most expensive Marvel Copper Age book. I can't think of anything else. Honestly, I can't think of any Copper Age books that are more than this, with the exception of TMNT 1 and like Albedo 2. First Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and first Usagi Yojimbo. But anyway, that's not what we're talking about right now. We're talking about this book right here. This was in the second batch. I mentioned that I bought 2 batches from this guy, so let's talk about them. The first batch was those 5 long boxes in the living room. Like I said, there was a mix of things. There was some really cool Silver Age stuff, but then there was also a lot of 90s bulk. And, you know, bulk stuff, places are buying for like 10 cents a book. It's not very sought after, especially it was like, you know, Robin and, you know, Batman issues in the 500s, just stuff that is just so common that it's hard to get rid of even for $1 a piece. So I ended up offering him initially, I think the number that I threw out was, okay, you have 5 long boxes. I'll give you $500. And he was like, how about 6? And I said, hey, let's meet in the middle. Let's do $550. So I paid $550 for those first 5 long boxes. And, yeah, like I said, there was, you know, a lot of stuff in there that was, you know, Silver Age, but not really keys. And then there were some like bronze and copper keys. So I figured, you know, at $100 a long box, I'm not going to lose money. You know, I'll be good. I'll be in the clear. So yeah, I paid $550 for those 5 long boxes. We loaded them up into the car, and he actually mentioned to me, he's like, yeah, I'm sure that downstairs I've got some ASM. Because I know I have a Todd McFarlane ASM 300. He is a collector. He was well aware of, you know, the key significance of this book and stuff like that. And he had mentioned that to me, and I was like, oh, you know, yeah, that could be worth, you know, a couple $100. You know, in really high grade, once it's graded, it could be worth a couple $1,000, but, you know, it has to be graded at that point. He goes, all right, hey, do you want to come down and check them out? So I went downstairs, like I said before, and, you know, I said, do you want me to make an offer? Like, do you mind? He said, oh, I was thinking about keeping some stuff, but let me see. And he kind of went through, and he's like, maybe the Joker, maybe I want to keep the Amazing Spider-Man. So I ended up giving him a couple different offers. I offered him, I don't remember exactly how much, but I offered an amount for everything that wasn't the Joker run and the Amazing Spider-Man run, which was Amazing Spider-Man 300 to 363. It went a little bit farther than that first Carnage to the third appearance of Carnage. And then, yeah, it was that full run. So all the McFarlane books. So I said, I think what I offered for, it was going to be like 3.5 long boxes. And I think I offered like $150 because this is without the ASM and without the Joker books. It was mostly 90s bulk. The best thing in there, I think, was the Vengeance of Bane and the Batman Harley Quinn were like the 2 big books, but mostly just like 80s and 90s DC miniseries and some of the Star Wars books were in there. And he was kind of like, okay, you know, what would you offer with the Spider-Man and with... So I told him, I was like, hey, you know, I paid you $500 for the stuff upstairs, or $550 for the stuff upstairs. I'll do another $550 if you want to give me everything. You know, and that is including, you know, the ASM 300. And he knew that was the big book. And I told him, I was like, you know, I'm willing to pay that because, you know, this is a bigger book, you know, $550 for everything. And he thought about it for a second. He's like, I'm never going to read these again. He was looking to just make some space. His kids are getting older. Wanted to, you know, make some money off the hobby that he had. He's keeping all his trade paperbacks and stuff and, going to continue reading comics, but he just didn't want the individual issues. And, yeah, so I paid him $550 for the first batch, $550 for the second batch. So altogether $1,100. And as you can see, I got some really, really great stuff. Some stuff that might go off and get graded to try to maximize that profit. But certainly, you know, the amount that I paid, I'm going to be good as far as, you know, selling this stuff off in claim sales to make a profit from the 1,100 that I'm in on it. It's definitely going to take some work because all those books had old bags and boards. Now, these ones that you saw, I replaced the bags and boards already, but there are a lot of books that I need to replace bags and boards on. So they will trickle into the claim sales over the next month or two. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. Sorry I babbled for a long time at the end, but it was an interesting kind of chop up of how I ended up buying this collection in two pieces after having bought the first piece a couple weeks ago. But yeah, give the video a thumbs up for a like. Leave a comment down below. Let me know how you did. Let me know how I did. Let me know what you think the best thing was that I got, or your favorite book, or whatever. Or just tell me a story. I don't care. Put something in the comments. I like the interaction. Anyway, until next time, turn the page, wash your hands.